Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from Miami at Exchange, an ETF experience where we're meeting with the top thought leaders and innovators in the ETF space. Joining me for this segment, we have Dan Muzzarelli. He's the Head of Distribution with US ETFs at Franklin Templeton to discuss the rise of active management. Dan, you know, I would say one of the key topics that we've heard right now is active management at Exchange, and of course your core business at Franklin Templeton is active. Tell us how you're providing critical value.
Yeah, you know, it's been a phenomenal couple of years at Franklin Templeton specifically. Back in 2020, we closed on our acquisition of Legg Mason. So we're now fully integrated. We're a $1.5 trillion asset manager and have a number of different strategies. Certainly active at the core of what Franklin Templeton does and has always been, but I think now in particular, as we continue to evolve the ETF brand, we now have more investment managers that are separate and independent that we can leverage within the ETF wrapper. So we've got a number of strategies that have come in. We're working on mutual fund ETF conversions and a number of new strategies as well. So we're very excited about not only the current lineup, but certainly the lineup that we're growing.
Give us an overview of the FT lineup.
Yeah, so we've got products across the passive, factor, and active space. If you're looking at active specifically, we've got about a dozen fixed income strategies. We've got a number of strategies across active ESG and then active US equity as well. If you take a look at kind of where we're finding opportunity right now, certainly with everything going on, I feel like, you know, those factor, maybe active light, if you will, and then certainly the more core active strategies have been, you know, bubbling up to the top with the market backdrop we've seen.
So you're seeing strong demand from navigating volatility, capital appreciation, ESG. Tell us about the volatility fund.
Yeah, so volatility in particular, the one where we're seeing the most interest is LVHD. It's our low volatility, high dividend ETF. If you think about what we've seen over the last 6 months since rates sort of peaked back in mid-September, volatility has certainly come to the forefront here more this year, but you know, yield's been harder and harder to come by, and certainly in a meaningful way without taking on an additional layer of volatility. So that strategy in particular is one of our largest within the factor space, covers US companies that have healthy balance sheets, and historically the fund's held up really well. You know, it was actually a bit of a challenge if you looked in March of 2020 to where things bounced back. You know, you had exercise bikes and stretchy pants as a low volatility trade for the first time in history. But certainly this year, if you look at the last 6 months, fund's top of its quartile, and Morningstar, it's outperformed all the broad indexes, and you're getting a healthy 3+ yield comparatively. And
back to capital appreciation, the last two funds, one is specific for capital appreciation, the other one has an ESG component to it. How are those two managed?
Yeah, so if you look at, again, that broad spectrum of folks that we acquired during the Legg Mason process, ClearBridge was one of those separate investment managers, certainly well known in the ESG community. They offer 4 different ETFs across our lineup now, and we're continuing to work with them on new ones, but LRGE is the ticker for their large cap growth ETF. We've seen monumental growth actually just here in the last few months as folks have kind of continued to move towards more ESG dedicated strategies. But the team there manages a number of different vehicles and vehicle types, has a long lineage within the ESG space. But that one in particular, again, I've seen a lot of interest, especially as you look at maybe opportunistically rotating in the large cap growth area, which has maybe underperformed a little bit here in 2022 so far.
All right, Dan, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.